You might have Officer A, he may spend 20, 30 minutes trying to de-escalate. He may be successful, he may not. You may have Officer B, he may put, 5 minutes into trying to de-escalate and say, all right, well, I tried. And now he's going to move into, trying to, get control of the arm and put the arm, and then it turns into a fight. Is there any type of guideline as to like how long you have to try to de-escalate? Like if the person is still a passive resistor where they're just like arguing with the officer and there's no indication that they're going to step it up, at what point does the officer say, okay, I've tried and now I'm going to use some proportional force to put them in handcuffs or whatever it may be in that situation?
You know what? It comes down to every case is absolutely 100% different. The officers are different. The other involved person is different. The totality of the circumstances and the factors of each case are different. And I'll give you an example. If you're let's just say a 5'2", 100-pound female, how long are you going to sit there and try to de-escalate with a 6'8", 300-pound muscle guy before they're actually going to kill you? You can only do it so long. At the same time, you could be a 6'8", 300-pound muscle officer dealing with a 5'2" female. I mean, are you really going to go in and start doing strikes on her, or could you easily manage the situation? It's just so different on every case. And you have to, that's why it's so important under the Graham versus Connor standard and the AG's guidelines. You have to understand the totality of the circumstances because every case is different. And this is one of the biggest point I want to make throughout this entire podcast. You can't determine the reasonableness of force just by watching a stupid video. You have to understand everything. What they were called to and what did it turn into when they got there. If the person was resisting, how were they resisting? And you have to start looking at, these are factors that are considered throughout the country, and they're also listed in the AG's guidelines. You start talking about number of officers versus number of suspect, size, weight, and shape of suspect versus the officer. Do you know the person personally? If you've dealt with him before, does he know to be violent? Does he have mental illness? Do you think he's on the influence of drugs or alcohol? Do you have the availability of other force options available? Are there innocent bystanders around? There is just so much information that you need to understand. And especially when it comes to the perception of the officer on scene, because that's making the determination of force. And it's not just what happens at scene. A lot of it can come through his training and experience. So you have to understand the officer's perception, but at the same time, he has to articulate it and explain it. If he doesn't, that's to his own peril down the line. Like I said, for instance, if he deals with the same person all the time, he's fought with this guy numerous times before. The guy has resisted. He knows him to have weapons. All that can come into play when it comes to his reasonable perception on scene.
Right. And let me just take a look at my notes, see what else we want to go over. Talk about, here I didn't cover this. Let's talk about like private citizens and use of force in maybe their job, like maybe security guard or someone. Best example I have is casino security, right? Like they're dealing with people. And I have a lot of clients that, it kind of seems to me that they don't have the same guidelines or the same restrictions on the use of force sometimes. And then they're calling the police to say, oh, this guy resisted. Tell me any experience you've had with the use of force within the private sector, especially now you're doing it, working as an expert.
I haven't had any cases yet. I've had a couple of attorneys call me and say they're going to get back to me, or they wanted to pick my brain and stuff. Right. But when it comes to like the security down the casino, as far as I know, they don't want to go hands-on with people unless they absolutely have to, as in either they're being attacked or they're trying to save someone else from being attacked or in the process of being assaulted, because that's huge liability on the casinos.
Are they bound by the same guidelines as to when they can use force, or is it different for them?
It's still going to be reasonable. When it comes to security, it's different. Like if you're talking about a private citizen out in the world, people have a
Yeah,
duty.
yeah,
They have a law to retreat if they can.
right, right. And for everyone watching, as a private person, if you were involved in an altercation, if you're going to claim self-defense, one of the elements is that there was no ability to retreat to absolute safety. And the only time that doesn't apply is when you're in residence. You don't have a duty to retreat in that situation.
Correct.
So that's what Glenn's talking about. So as far as like private security though, like is there a standard that they have to abide by the same as police officers, or is it really just based off of whatever the company policy is?
It's still going to be reasonable force,
Right.
which they're allowed to do under certain situations and certain circumstances. They can use force, but again, they're going to be scrutinized uh, pretty well after that incident.
Have you ever been involved in an investigation where there was some sort of shooting or fatal incident involving either not necessarily casino security, but other private security or some security guard or anything like that?
I have not. Like I said, I've been called. I think last week I got called about two specific cases, something like that, where security used
Right.
deadly force.
Right.
Um, and I'm just going by what the attorney told me on the phone. I don't know the facts on the totality of the circumstances of the case yet. So if I get the case, I'll have to review that. And then you start looking at the security departments, their policies, their trainings, their lesson plans. How well are they training their officers to understand the law and what they can do and when they can't do something?
I gotcha. And do you, if you were ever to be retained on a case like that, would you use the Attorney General guidelines as sort of a starting point in whether or not that private security person acted reasonably, or would
I
you
would.
kind of okay, you would.